Good day to you all. It's your charming host, Alexander, here to sprinkle a little joy into your morning with some delightful updates from the marvelous world of Witworks. I hope you're all riding the good vibes wave on this lovely day. Now let's take a moment to appreciate the absolute rock stars at Gizmo League. These fine folks are like the Avengers of the tech and gaming universe. No kidding. They're dedicated to bringing you the most dazzling and futuristic gadgets that'll make you feel as if you've stepped right out of a sci-fi blockbuster. And let's be honest, without their brilliance, we wouldn't be having this splendid chat today. So, let's give them a hearty round of applause. And remember, after our little rendezvous, do swing by www.gizmoleague.com to get your hands on all things fantastic. Now, without further ado, let's dive into today's most tantalizing tale. Top 10 Unknown British Innovations That Quietly Transformed the World. Introduction. When you think of British innovations, your mind might leap to the classics like the steam engine, the telephone, or even the beloved cup of tea. But let's take a stroll down a lesser-known path where quirky inventions and brilliant minds have quietly changed the world. From the ordinary to the downright bizarre, here are 10 British innovations that slipped under the radar but have had a lasting impact on our everyday lives. 1. The vacuum cleaner. The vacuum cleaner, a household hero with a backstory that's as fascinating as it is dusty. When you think about it, it's hard not to chuckle at the image of a 1950s housewife wrestling with a hulking, menacing vacuum, probably while trying to balance a roast in the oven and keep the kids from reenacting a scene from The Wild Bunch in the living room. But let's rewind the clock a bit, shall we? The saga of the vacuum cleaner kicks off in 1901 with Hubert Cecil Booth, a British inventor who might as well have been the original wizard of tidiness. His first model was less of a sleek appliance and more of a mechanical beast. Imagine a giant contraption, akin to a steam engine, trundling down the street, sucking up dirt and debris with the enthusiasm of a kid in a candy store. This was no gentle whisper of a machine. It was so powerful that it could literally suck the wallpaper off your walls. I mean, who needs interior decorators when you have a vacuum cleaner that doubles as a home renovation tool? Just be careful if you decide to clean a friend's house, you might end up with a completely new design aesthetic and an awkward conversation. As the years rolled on, thankfully, the vacuum cleaner evolved. The modern iterations we use today are a far cry from Booth's intimidating prototype. We've traded in the bulky, wall-shaking models for sleek, lightweight devices that glide over carpets like ballerinas. And let's not forget the age of robotics. Today, we have those little Roombas zipping around, seemingly on a mission to achieve world domination, one crumb at a time. They might not have Booth's raw power, but they sure know how to sneak under the couch and grab that rogue dust bunny that's been mocking you from the shadows. In the end, the vacuum cleaner is more than just a tool. It's a testament to human ingenuity and our relentless pursuit of cleanliness. It reminds us that while our homes can get messy, we have the power, thanks to a curious inventor and a bit of imagination, to reclaim our spaces without losing our wallpaper in the process. So the next time you hear the whir of a vacuum, take a moment to appreciate the journey it took to become the friendly, wall-respecting appliance we now know and love. And perhaps give a nod to Hubert Cecil Booth, the man who revolutionized cleaning and probably saved countless walls in the process. 2. The chocolate bar. The chocolate bar, a delightful creation that has undoubtedly earned its place as one of humanity's most beloved indulgences. Let's take a moment to bask in the glory of this sweet treat, shall we? While we often romanticize the eccentric Willy Wonka, it was actually Joseph Fry who deserves the title of Chocolate Wizard. In 1847, Fry took it upon himself to revolutionize our chocolate experience by crafting the first solid chocolate bar. Yes, you heard that right. Before Fry's groundbreaking invention, chocolate was primarily enjoyed as a drink. Picture it. People huddled around sipping their mugs of chocolate, likely looking a bit like they'd just emerged from an old-timey cafe in a Charles Dickens novel. Now imagine trying to enjoy a cinematic masterpiece like Casablanca while sipping from a teacup. Talk about a messy situation. Chocolate splatters on your finest attire could lead to some awkward looks. Fry's clever concoction, essentially a delightful mix of cocoa powder, sugar, and cocoa butter, changed everything. It allowed us to eat chocolate on the go, unencumbered by the confines of teacups and delicate napkins. Who needs all that fuss when you can unwrap a chocolate bar and dig right in? With Fry's genius, the world was introduced to the joy of chocolate bars that could be savored without the need for a formal setting. No more awkwardly trying to sip chocolate while balancing a spoon. Thank you, Mr. Fry. Now, let's not forget the sheer variety that has emerged from this original creation. Today, chocolate bars come in every imaginable flavor and texture, from creamy milk chocolate to dark chocolate that's so rich it could practically fund a small country. There are chocolate bars stuffed with caramel, nuts, and even pretzels, creating a tantalizing blend of sweet and salty that dances on your taste buds. In a world where chocolate bars are omnipresent, whether they're waiting for you at the register of your favorite grocery store or nestled in your couch cushions after a late-night binge watch, it's easy to forget how groundbreaking Fry's invention truly was. So, next time you unwrap a chocolate bar, take a moment to appreciate Joseph Fry. Without him, we'd be stuck with a hot chocolate in one hand and popcorn in the other, which just sounds like a recipe for disaster. Instead, we can enjoy our movies with a satisfying crunch and melt-in-your-mouth decadence. Now that's progress. 3. The first computer programmer. Ada Lovelace, born in 1815, is a remarkable figure often celebrated as the first computer programmer. Yes, you heard that right, programmer, back when the only computer people knew was their own brain. This was long before the age of sleek laptops, smartphones, or even the good old desktop that proudly sat on our kitchen tables, covered in stacks of bills and half-finished crossword puzzles. No, Lovelace was writing algorithms for something far more mechanical and, let's be honest, a bit clunky, Charles Babbage's analytical engine. This ambitious contraption was meant to be a mechanical general-purpose computer, which is a fancy way of saying it was designed to do all sorts of calculations, provided it didn't have an existential crisis first. Can you imagine a world where the concept of programming was just a twinkle in the eye of a woman who would later inspire generations of tech enthusiasts? While most of us were busy perfecting our tea brewing skills or figuring out the intricacies of social etiquette, Lovelace was envisioning a future where machines could perform complex tasks. Talk about being ahead of the curve. She didn't just dabble in numbers, she saw the potential for computers to go beyond mere calculation and delve into realms of creativity and imagination. She was one of the first to recognize that machines could manipulate symbols and even create music, a notion that seems almost prophetic in our current age of digital creativity. And let's not forget how her work laid the groundwork for the digital age we enjoy today. Imagine if Lovelace had been around to witness the internet, where her algorithms are now used to enable everything from e-commerce to social media. Although, let's be real, she probably never envisioned a future where her algorithms would help facilitate the sharing of endless cat memes or videos of people slipping on ice. What a wild ride that would have been for her. Yet, despite her groundbreaking contributions, Lovelace was often overshadowed by her male counterparts during her time. Her story is a reminder that the tech world has always had strong women, even if they weren't always given the credit they deserved. So, the next time you're scrolling through a meme-filled feed on your phone, give a little nod to Ada Lovelace. She's the real MVP of the digital realm, forever changing the game before anyone even knew there was a game to be played. 4. The jet engine. The jet engine, a glorious invention that brought us closer to the dream of zipping across the globe like some kind of supercharged bird. Sir Frank Whittle, a British engineer with a knack for thinking way ahead of his time, invented the turbojet engine in the 1930s. Before Whittle's breakthrough, airplanes were pretty much stuck in the slow lane, chugging along like a polite Sunday driver rather than a fast-moving sports car. His jet engine changed all that, making it possible for planes to fly higher and faster, which eventually allowed for the kind of travel we know, and have a love-hate relationship with, today. Imagine the world before jet engines. Crossing an ocean by plane took longer than watching every season of your favorite TV show back-to-back, and comfort was, well, let's just say it was relative. But Whittle's design threw the travel industry into the fast lane. Suddenly, Airplanes could cover distances at speeds that would have sounded like science fiction just a few years before. Travelers in the 60s, for example, could sip their in-flight cocktails, nibble on dinner, and still arrive before bedtime. Give or take some turbulence and a few questionable airline meals. The jet engine didn't just make flights faster, it redefined our concept of reachable. Weekend trips to Paris? Possible. Quick business jaunts to Tokyo? Also possible, though good luck avoiding jet lag. The world got smaller, and international travel became something more people could dream of, even if the reality includes a fair amount of standing around barefoot in security lines. Of course, Whittle probably didn't imagine all the fine print that would come with modern air travel, the joy of sitting 3 inches from a stranger, the struggle to find overhead bin space, and the endless security checks. But if you look past the cramped seats and TSA lines, his invention is pretty remarkable. Whittle gave us jet setting, even if it's sometimes more set than jet, as you sit waiting for your boarding group to be called. So next time you're inching through a line at the airport or sitting on the tarmac, wondering what on earth is taking so long, remember Sir Frank Whittle. Because while he gave us the gift of speedy travel, he probably had no idea he was also creating the scene of many a future travel rant. The man may have turbocharged our planes, but he couldn't turbocharge the TSA. 5. The lawnmower. The lawnmower. The trusty sidekick of suburban life and a modern marvel that most of us take for granted. Can you imagine a world where you had to wrestle with a scythe or, even more entertainingly, rely on goats to keep your grass at bay? Enter Edwin Beard Budding, the British genius who had the foresight, and perhaps the grass-stained pants, to invent the lawnmower in 1830. Before his groundbreaking invention, grass maintenance was basically a full-contact sport involving sharp blades and sweaty brows. Seriously, can you picture it? People hunched over, flailing scythes like they were in a medieval duel, or letting goats roam free, munching away at the greenery while they settled down with a cup of tea. Talk about multitasking! Budding's creation transformed the game. Suddenly, keeping your lawn tidy didn't require a battle with nature or a herd of goats. The lawnmower came to the rescue, making it possible for homeowners to maintain their yards with a bit more ease. Now, we can zip across our lawns with a minimal effort, leaving us with plenty of time to contemplate the existential dread of another weekend chore. Let's be honest, who enjoys mowing the lawn? It's the one chore that feels like a bad date. You know you have to go through with it, but you'd rather be anywhere else, perhaps even dealing with an angry goat. Now, as you crank up your lawnmower and engage in the rhythmic sound of the blades, remember that Budding revolutionized yard care in a way that paved the path for today's sleek models. But let's not forget the goats. Those fuzzy little grass munchers deserve a shout-out. While they may not be the most effective lawn care solution for the average homeowner, can you imagine your HOA's reaction? They sure would bring a unique charm to the neighborhood. Who wouldn't want to see goats frolicking around, nibbling on dandelions while their owners sip iced tea and watch the chaos unfold? So, the next time you find yourself trudging behind your lawnmower on a sunny Saturday, take a moment to appreciate the history of this delightful invention. Sure, it might not be the most exciting chore on your list, but at least you're not out there wielding a scythe or wrangling goats. And who knows, maybe one day you'll swap stories with a neighbor about how you survived the great grass battle of the 21st century, armed only with your trusty mower and a strong will. Here's to the lawnmower, a true hero of home maintenance. 6. The World Wide Web. The World Wide Web, a magical place where cat videos reign supreme. Online shopping means never having to change out of your pajamas, and binge watching has become a legitimate pastime. But let's take a moment to appreciate the unsung hero behind all this digital wonder, British computer scientist Tim Berners-Lee. Yes, that's right. While you might picture Silicon Valley as the high-tech playground of geniuses with hoodies and energy drinks, it was Berners-Lee who, in 1989, had the bright idea of linking computers together in a way that would change our lives forever. Imagine a world without the web. We'd be scrolling through TV channels one by one, waiting for a movie to start on cable, or worse, having to engage in actual conversation with our friends. Gasp. The horror. Thanks to Berners-Lee, we can instead connect with people around the globe, sharing memes and debating the merits of pineapple on pizza at all hours of the day. Who knew that a simple concept of interlinked documents would lead to such an explosion of creativity and, let's be honest, procrastination? Before the web, if you wanted to shop, you had to brave the outside world, put on pants, deal with crowds, and endure the horrors of public restrooms. But now, with just a few clicks, you can have everything from groceries to gadgets delivered right to your doorstep. It's like having a genie in a bottle, minus the weird wish limitations. Plus, let's not forget the joy of late-night online shopping sprees that lead to surprise packages arriving on your doorstep. What did I order? Oh right, a life-sized cutout of Ryan Reynolds. Who wouldn't want that? And then there's the joy of streaming. Remember when we had to wait a week for the next episode of our favorite show? How quaint! With the web, we can devour entire seasons in a single weekend, often forgetting to eat or sleep in the process. Thanks, Tim. So, the next time you're scrolling through your favorite streaming service or scrolling through social media, take a moment to tip your hat to Berners-Lee. Without his groundbreaking invention, we might still be trying to figure out how to send a letter via pigeon, clutching a feathered friend and praying it finds its way home. In a world where face-to-face conversations are dwindling, let's all raise a toast, preferably over a Zoom call, to the web and its creator, the man who made it all possible. 7. The color photograph. Let's dive into a story that will make you appreciate just how far we've come from black and white days to our current colorful Instagram feeds. Picture this. It's the late 1800s. The world is in black and white, or at least that's how it looked in photos. If you wanted to capture a memory, you were getting a grayscale relic that looked more like a ghostly apparition than anything that truly captured the scene. Then along came Edward Turner, a British photographer and inventor who had a revolutionary idea. What if we could make photos look like real life? That is, in color. This was not an easy feat, mind you. Turner didn't have a slick filter app or photo editing software. He had chemistry, physics, and pure determination. Turner's process was, well, complicated. Imagine if, to take a color photo, you had to go through 3 different filters and plates just to get a shot. Turner used red, green, and blue filters to capture images on separate plates, then combined these to create a single color image. This was not your quick click-and-post moment. No, taking a color photo was an event, almost like preparing a fine dish from scratch rather than just throwing a TV dinner in the microwave. But those results? Astonishing! For the first time, you could see reds that looked like actual red and greens that weren't just 50 shades of gray. Turner's invention was a breakthrough, but it didn't go viral. Well, at least not by today's standards. Color photography didn't become mainstream until decades later. Turner's work was more of a soft launch for the technology we use today. Yet, even without immediate fame, his contributions laid the groundwork for what would become a huge leap in photography. Imagine if he knew that one day, people would be snapping color photos of every meal they eat, every sunset they see, and every latte they drink, with just a click on a smartphone. So, the next time you scroll through Instagram and see someone's neon-colored vacation photos or their dog in a pink tutu, take a moment to raise a mental toast to Edward Turner. He's the unsung hero who turned our sad, grainy memories into vibrant, living snapshots. Without his early innovations, your feed might look like a monotone scrapbook of the 1800s, and let's be honest, sepia tones can only go so far. Thanks to Turner, the world of photography and your Instagram grid is in full, glorious color. Cheers, Edward. 8. The first electric motor. Let's rewind the clock back to 1821, when Michael Faraday was cooking up a little something that would change the course of history, a device we now recognize as the very first electric motor. Picture this: Faraday, a British scientist with a curiosity that rivaled a kid in a candy store, was deep into his experiments with electricity and magnets. Through his relentless tinkering, he discovered something remarkable. By creating a system that used electromagnetic induction, Faraday could convert electrical energy into mechanical motion. This is science speak for He figured out how to make things move using electricity, and thus the first electric motor was born, marking the beginning of an era powered by, well, power. Now, Faraday likely didn't know his invention would one day shape industries far and wide. After all, he was just one man, one lab, and a whole lot of electromagnetic magic. But imagine his surprise if he'd known that his humble contraption would eventually power everything from factory machines and electric vehicles to your everyday kitchen gadgets. Think about it. Every time you blend a smoothie, dry your hair, or turn on a fan, you're witnessing the ripple effect of Faraday's genius. He probably couldn't have predicted that his motor would pave the way for tech that fills our lives, from high-tech medical devices to concert stages alive with lights and sound. It's fair to say, Faraday set the stage for modern life as we know it. It's easy to take the electric motor for granted because it's quietly working away inside so many of our devices, often out of sight. We flick a switch, press a button, and voila, motion happens. But before Faraday, this concept of harnessing electricity to create movement was virtually unheard of. His invention turned electricity from a scientific curiosity into a force that could do work, moving the gears of industry and transforming everyday life. Faraday may not have realized it at the time, but his discovery was the spark, literally and figuratively, that ignited the industrial and technological revolutions. So the next time your blender whirs to life or your washing machine spins your clothes dry, give a little nod to Faraday. Without his inventive spirit, who knows? We might still be cranking things by hand. Thanks to his motor, though, the world now hums, whirs, and whizzes along with electric energy, powering our lives one motor at a time. 9. The radar. All right, let's take a moment to tip our hats, or maybe adjust our radar dishes, to Sir Robert Watson-Watt, the British scientist who probably didn't realize just how much he'd be changing the world when he helped develop radar during World War II. Yes, the same radar that now tells air traffic controllers if a plane's coming in hot or gives your GPS a nudge when you're wondering if you'll make it to the airport on time. And while radar now helps with all kinds of everyday things, like tracking the weather or keeping your favorite TV meteorologist in business, its origin story is pure wartime drama. Back in the 1930s, with tensions simmering across Europe, Watson-Watt and his team were tasked with a job that seemed straight out of a sci-fi flick, finding a way to detect enemy aircraft before they were right on top of you. The Brits needed a way to see what was coming, ideally before it showed up uninvited. This radar technology turned out to be exactly what they needed. Instead of staring anxiously at the skies or squinting through binoculars, they now had a system that could pick up signals, detect incoming planes, and give the British Royal Air Force a chance to react, scramble fighters, and defend their skies. Imagine the relief of British townsfolk knowing they had an invisible electronic shield against air raids. Watson-Watt's radar was like giving the British a sneak peek at enemy movements, which meant they could prepare for what was coming before it ever showed up. In fact, this innovation was so effective that some credit it with being a game changer in the Battle of Britain, helping prevent a full-scale invasion and giving the Allies a much-needed upper hand. Now, today's radar systems are far more advanced, but they all owe a nod to that original, slightly rough-around-the-edges version. The radar's job now includes everything from keeping birds and wayward drones away from airport runways to helping cargo ships navigate through fog. And let's not forget every time we check the weather radar and feel just a little bit smug, knowing whether we'll need an umbrella or not. So, the next time you hear a plane cruising above, think of Sir Robert Watson-Watt, the man who made it possible to see things that aren't there yet. Thanks to him, air travel is safer, pilots get to keep their cool, and we get one more reason to marvel at human ingenuity. 10. The electric car. Long before Tesla became the face of electric cars and Elon Musk started plotting to send humanity to Mars, there was Thomas Parker, an engineer with a vision and a London taxi in desperate need of a makeover. It's 1884, and Parker, a forward-thinking British inventor, decided he'd had enough of coal-choked air and clattering horse-drawn carriages. While most people were simply trying to keep their hats on while dodging piles of manure in the streets, Parker had a bigger plan, a car that would run on pure electric power. Yes, that's right. Parker was already onto something eco-friendly over a century before anyone started hashtagging #GreenLife. So, in true trailblazer fashion, Parker took an old London taxi and performed the ultimate 19th century upgrade. Forget fuzzy dice or a fresh coat of paint, Parker swapped out the whole gas-guzzling, or coal-choking to be more accurate, power source for a battery-operated system. Suddenly, this little taxi was gliding through the streets in silent elegance, leaving bystanders wondering if witchcraft was involved. It was the first practical electric vehicle, an invention that proved, against all odds, that cars didn't have to rely on smoke-belching engines to get from point A to point B. Parker's electric taxi might have lacked the sleek design of a Tesla, but it had one thing over today's high-tech EVs. It was the original. This car didn't come with self-driving features or an infotainment system, but it did have Parker's innovation behind it, pushing it forward at a leisurely, non-polluting pace. And while we can only guess what Londoners thought of it back then, we do know that Parker's work was a true turning point in transportation. Imagine telling Parker that, one day, electric cars would become trendy, almost a status symbol, with names like Tesla, Rivian, and Lucid making headlines. His reaction would probably be a mixture of pride and confusion. Pride because he was right all along, and confusion because, let's face it, back in his day, driving an electric vehicle was more about avoiding horse manure than impressing your Instagram followers. So next time you see a sleek electric vehicle whizzing by in silence, maybe give a quick nod to old Thomas Parker. He may not have lived to see his invention go mainstream, but thanks to him, the world got its first taste of what a cleaner, quieter future might look like. Conclusion. The quiet brilliance of British innovators has transformed our lives in ways we often take for granted. From cleaning our homes to revolutionizing travel and communication, these inventions remind us that the most profound changes can come from the most unexpected places. So, next time you enjoy a chocolate bar or use your smartphone, take a moment to appreciate the quirky genius behind these everyday marvels. And that's a wrap for today, my fabulous friends. Here at Witworks Studios, we're running on the fuel of your sharp minds and stellar taste. If you're up for the full VIP treatment, unlimited access to our latest and greatest, and want to back our artistic adventures, then why not join our premium subscribers club? You know the drill, no map needed. But before you strut off to conquer the world with all that fresh knowledge, let's give a big tip of the hat to our good friends at Gizmo League. Honestly, they're the real MVPs behind the scenes, working the tech magic that brings this podcast right to your ears. So, if you're in the mood for some gadget greatness, go ahead and check them out at www.gizmoleague.com to see what they've been cooking up. Until next time, stay curious, stay fantastic,